And we are live. Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. My name is Saliza. This is my channel. I post videos every single day, sometimes twice a day. I just posted a wonderful conversation, not about politics, about masculinity, youth sports, performance, all sorts of cool stuff with a guy named Steve Magnus, who's an amazing guy. He was a world-class runner. He now writes books, including Win the Inside Game. He also wrote this amazing book called Do Hard Things, which I loved. Anyway, I did a conversation with him. It's an hour long, but it's well worth your time. I swear it. I just put it up on YouTube. Anyway, welcome to my Friday live stream. So we are 1 month into Donald Trump's presidency, 47 months to go. But who's counting? I did a couple things. I put up at the top of my chat, I put in the chat box here, I put a couple links if you're interested. So I put a link to my Substack. If you want to check it out, that's where most of my written and some of my video, but most of my written content goes. And that's every day. And I also put a link in there to buy me coffee, which I've never really done before, but I've just started to do, which is effectively like, if you want to donate to me, then you can do it there. Like, you can set a reoccurring donation, you can make a one-time donation, whatever. But again, I always say to people, this is how I make my living. I make my living by making content. So I need you to support that, whether it's subscribing here, whether it's subscribing at YouTube, whether it's paying at YouTube, whether it's making a donation here, either in Buy Me Coffee or in the Super Chat. This is how I do it, so I need you. What I will say about this chat, if you're new, if you do donate via the Super Chat, I will bump your question up to the top, make sure it gets answered. Now, that does not mean that if you don't donate, your question won't get answered. I will try to answer as many questions as I can in basically an hour, because in an hour, I have to do a Zoom call with someone who's a paid subscriber to my Substack. So if you do become a paid subscriber to my Substack, one of the things you get with your subscription is a 15-minute one-on-one Zoom call with me. So I got to go do one of those when I'm done with this. All right. A little cold in here. Maybe a little tea. Okay, here we go. Maxwell Finer. Do you think the Dems would try to impeach Trump for the DOGE stuff if they controlled the House right now? Good question. And I do love a good hypothetical, Maxwell, as you know. I don't know. It's so early in his term, and they'd already impeached him twice. And you know the Republican Senate is not going to convict and remove him from office, right? There are 53 Republican seats. So, like, probably not. I mean, does that mean that there wouldn't be someone within the Democratic caucus who would offer up an impeachment resolution? Of course there would be someone. I think there already are people in the Democratic caucus who have done that. But I don't think they would impeach him. I don't know if I'm not totally sure about that, but I would lean no. Patrick Murray, question. You've said our democracy will withstand Trump. I have, and I believe that. But if Ukraine is forced to accept land concessions or a one-sided agreement, do you think we will still be considered a global democracy? Yes. I mean, I still think we'll be a global democracy. Will our standing, is what Donald Trump is doing on the world stage going to change or already changing how people in other countries perceive us? For sure. No question about that. Does that mean that we won't be seen as a democracy anymore? I don't think that is the case. No. Again, potentially diminished, but I don't think we'll not be a democracy. Saliza fan, terrific handle. Why aren't you talking more about the mass layoffs in the government? National parks are having to close and essential government services are not being provided as a result. Well, I mean, I try to talk about there's a lot going on, as you probably know. I try to talk about lots of stuff. I have talked about it some, maybe not as much as you would like. I mean, look, so I think that there's a couple things going on here. I think on the one hand, cutting government jobs is broadly popular, but I think that people don't realize that the jobs are not just in Washington. They're all over the country. There was a great chart the Wall Street Journal did last weekend where they did a map of where U.S. Agency of International Development, USAID, jobs are. And yes, lots of them are in Washington, but lots of them are in red states and red congressional districts too. So I think might be a short-term political gain for Trump with medium and longer term pain, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not certain that people realize a lot of the things that the federal government does in their communities. And I think when you start cutting those things, I think people are going to realize it, and there's going to be jobs impacted, including jobs in Republican states and Republican districts. So I try to talk about it. I'll continue to stay on that story. I don't want to become obsessed with any one story because honestly, I think there's so much going on that you really have to keep a roving eye as opposed to just focusing on one specific thing. That's at least my approach. Sam still a Ciliza fan. Wow. So I've got Ciliza fan and Sam still a Ciliza fan. That's great. You were in the right place. You're at the right chat. Sam says, hey, Chris, how did you celebrate Valentine's Day and your birthday? Did you enjoy it? Okay, so for people who don't know, yesterday, February 20th, was my birthday. I turned 31. Why are you laughing? Okay, I turned 49. Whatever, 49. Not 50 yet. We didn't do a ton. We did go out to dinner, my family, because my older son's soccer practice was surprisingly canceled. But we didn't do a lot. We'll do some stuff we are not a big family on, you got to celebrate your birthday on the day. And I'm 49. My son on Monday turned 16. That's a bigger deal, right? 16th birthday, right? And no, he's not getting a car for people who ask. Valentine's Day, I don't think I did anything. I think I drove my kid to soccer. I don't even remember. Sherry Zimmerman. Chris, your Mitch McConnell pre and post Trump analysis was timely. That was over in my Substack. Thanks, Sherry. Yet when Trump went for his wife, Secretary Elaine Chao, with racist barbs, can't imagine what their pillow talk was that night. Ugh, pillow talk, Mitch McConnell. No, thank you. Not interested. Yeah, I mean, it is weird for me. I mean, Mitch McConnell, who, if you were on another planet this week, is retiring after 7 terms in the Senate. Mitch McConnell hates Donald Trump. Like, I mean, it's not complicated. But Mitch McConnell was someone who did not vote to convict Donald Trump after January 6th, even though I think he has said he thought Donald Trump was basically guilty for doing it. And he is someone who said he voted for Donald Trump in 2024, which is so weird to me because, as Sherry points out, Trump attacked Mitch McConnell and his wife, Elaine Chao, who, by the way, was Trump's labor secretary, in very personal terms. He suggested that Elaine Chao was a Chinese plant, a Chinese spy. No proof of that. It's weird to me that McConnell, who had to know, I mean, McConnell said he knew a year ago, he made the decision a year ago that he wasn't going to run again. So that means when he voted for Trump in 2024, he knew he wasn't running again. So then why did he vote for Trump if he hates Trump? I don't know, man. It's very weird to me, but that's McConnell. Human NC. What happens if Donald Trump just defies the courts? So that's a really common question I get asked. And the answer is, I don't totally know. But I will say this. In his first term, Donald Trump pushed lots of limits and very aggressively tried to get the courts to sort of extend his powers. And in many cases, they pushed back. And while he complained about that and while he appealed those rulings, he did abide by those rulings. He has said, I think he said it either last month or earlier this month, he has said, I will abide by court rulings in this term. Now, just because he says it doesn't mean he's going to do it, but I tend to take that as like, at least he has publicly said, yes, I'm going to abide by these things. Now, again, who knows? It's Trump. Anything is possible, in the words of Kevin Garnett. But, I tend to think that's not going to be the case. Politics Nerd, great name. Who's the early favorite to be the Democratic nominee in 2028? There isn't one. And I think that's part of Democrats' problem, right? So the truth of the matter here, right, is Democrats are a little bit leaderless. Chuck Schumer is not really a national spokesman for the party. Hakeem Jeffries might be, but he's the House Minority Leader. He's not the he's not the Speaker. So harder to be the face of Democrats. Kamala Harris, no, focused on deciding about her future. And I don't think she could be the leader of the party anyway. Barack Obama, not interested. Bill Clinton, not interested. Joe Biden, out of out of the picture. And then you have the sort of up and comers, so like Gretchen Whitmer, Josh Shapiro, Buttigieg. None of them, I think, have the gravitas yet to say like I'm leading the party. They're all kind of in that second tier, not lower tier, second tier. So the party doesn't really have any leadership, and I think that's a huge part of the problem. Paul Olson, Paul, thank you for your donation as always, and I love that you have Ralphie from Christmas Story as your picture there. He's the best. You'll shoot your eye out. Would Defying, Paul asked this, and Paul, I said thank you. Yes, thank you for your donation. Like to always put that in there. Paul says, would defying a court ruling, especially the Supreme Court, be an impeachable offense with some traction? Yes, it would. I think if the Supreme Court ruled against Donald Trump on, let's say, birthright citizenship, and he was like, well, we're doing it anyway, there would be movement on the impeachment front. Now, would enough Republicans side? I don't know. Like, I really don't, Paul. It's like normally I would say yes, but we're not in normal times, as I think people sort of have figured out by now. But yes, I think that would, if the Supreme Court ruled something, Donald Trump said, well, I don't like that ruling, I'm not going to follow it. Yeah, I think there would be some movement toward impeachment or some peeling off of Republicans from him. Although, I predicted before Republicans were going to peel off from him, and they didn't. Matthew White, do you think Trump's strategy of favoring Russia is beneficial for the U.S. despite the moral dilemma? It could help lower gas prices if trade resumes. Matthew, I don't. My sense of this is really based on what I know of Trump. So Donald Trump is about winning, being consequential, and sort of being recognized for winning and being consequential. So when I look at almost everything through that lens, because I think he looks at everything through that lens, and through that lens, the Russia thing does make some sense. So remember, on the campaign trail, Donald Trump said he would the war in Ukraine and Russia would have never started if he had been in office, but he wasn't, but he would stop it on day one. Now, obviously that was ridiculous, but he is pledged he was going to end the war. So in his mind, he thinks, I need to end the war. This could win me the Nobel Peace Prize. This is a big deal. This would write me into history. Okay. And I think he has assessed that the quickest way to end the war is to figure out what Russia wants, give them most of what they want to get the war to end, and then go to Ukraine, who's obviously the weakest of the three players in this, America, Russia, and Ukraine, and say, look, here's the deal, take it or leave it. Also give us some of your rare earth minerals. So like, I think that's what he's doing. I know the other alternative is he's a Russian asset or the Russians have something on him or, I have no way of knowing that. Right. But I tend to look through the winning and being consequential thing. And in that way, that's why I think he's behaving the way he is. And I don't think he thinks you're the lowering gas prices and trade. I don't think he thinks in those terms. It's like, well, if that happens, great. But really, what he really wants is to be able to be like at the handshake with Zelensky, Putin, and Trump and be like, I did this. Give me the Peace Prize. XPFC Wintergreen V2O. Hey, Chris, did you catch the hockey game last night? I did. Tough ending for the U.S. You can't let the best player in the world, Connor McDavid, get the puck in the middle of the ice. I'm no hockey guy, but even I know that. Great game, though. Really exciting. Dan W., non-political question. Dan, I love non-political questions. Bring it on. Did you watch SNL's 50th? I did. The show was good, but the concert they did was amazing. Post Nirvana. Yeah, Post Malone singing with Nirvana. Eddie Vedder covering Tom Petty. Cher at 78. Basically a 3-hour concert. Pretty awesome. And you didn't even mention Paul Simon doing Homeward Bound with Sabrina Carpenter. Sabrina Carpenter. I mean, that was awesome. I love the music on SNL. I feel like people don't appreciate enough. I mean, they've had everyone. Yes, totally agree. Really enjoyed it. And thanks for the non-political question. Nick Bondurant, congrats on the path to 60,000 subscribers. Thank you. So we're at like 59,250 or something. We're getting there. I really want to. So someone at YouTube told me this, or someone who knows YouTube, not at YouTube. And they said, if you can get to 100,000, you can get to 1 million. Because once you get to 100,000, the flywheel of the algorithm really starts kicking in. So I'm trying to get there. If you guys have tips, I know one big thing is find people to collaborate with. I get it. I don't know the YouTube world well enough. I need to acquaint myself better with people who might want to talk to me or have me on or recommend me. So I need to do that. I know that's one obvious path, but if you guys have any other ones, let me know. Paul Olson said, wow, definitely getting close to 60,000. I am, Paul. We're getting there. Nick Bondurant, back to your question. Can Trump buy political approval with DOGE dividends? Even if it's less than 5,000, won't people fall in love and concede more power to him? Yeah, so good question. I mean, look, people like when the government sends them money. Breaking news. And Donald Trump will make sure his name is all over a check if that happens. Like if DOGE finds enough savings that they can send $1,000, I don't know if they're going to send 5,000, but if they can send $1,000 to every family in the country, yeah, that would be good for him. I don't know how good, right? But yes, people like to get money. Breaking news. Mike Witt, not that Mike Witt, but always a regular participant in this live stream and an investor in me. Mike, thank you as always for your donation. Hey, Chris, hope you had a great week. It was a good week. I mean, I turned 49. How is Georgetown's basketball team doing this year? March Madness team. Probably not March Madness, but remember, Georgetown's basketball team won 4 Big East games total in the last 4 years. We are currently at, I believe, 7 and 8 in the Big East. We've won 7 games. We beat Providence this week. We have to play, let's see, at Creighton tomorrow. That's going to be tough. At UConn, and then home versus Marquette are our next 3. So it's going to be a little bit of a slog. You know, look, I think we are better. We are moving in the right direction. I like Ed Cooley, but we're not there yet. But Mike, thank you as always for your donation. Mr. Wolf. What are your thoughts on the AfD party of Germany? So this is the party that has been at minimum sympathetic to Nazis or the neo-Nazi movement, et cetera, et cetera. I don't have a ton of thoughts. I'm actually going to do a deep dive on the German election because it's obviously coming up on my Substack because I'm committed to trying every other week, probably try to shine a light on a foreign election that's happening in a big country, and Germany's on the map. Romania is another one I want to do sometime soon. So I'm going to get into that. And in that piece, I'll get more into AfD. I don't want to talk too much about it because I don't totally know. JJ Giddy says 1080p, you did it. So that means that this picture is good, right? JJ Giddy. It should be. This is a Logitech 4K camera. So I don't know why it wouldn't stream well, but yes, I did it. Sherry Zimmerman reminds people, hit the thumbs up button, folks. We got over 200 people on this live chat right now. We only have 54 likes, so like it. Do me a favor. Craig Vance, is DOGE ever going to be properly created? Probably not. You mean like is there going? I mean, I guess it's in the executive branch, so the executive can make it, right? Like the Department of Homeland Security. So but no, probably not. Like I think it's just kind of like a floating thing, which actually gives it more power because there aren't as many rules governing it. Let's see. Brad David, are you a registered Democrat? No, I'm not a registered voter. I know this bums people out. When I first started being a reporter, which was when I was in my early 20s, I decided I wouldn't vote. And I've sort of reconsidered that I should vote, especially now that I'm an independent news creator. I can sort of do what I want, but I did not vote in the last election. I don't know. Here's what's hard for me, Brad. I have always looked at all of this stuff through the lens of a reporter because I didn't really care about politics before I got into journalism. So my lens on politics is through journalism. So I've always struggled to be a partisan either way. I'm much more like, oh, is this going to work? Is this not going to work? Is this something they're saying borne out by facts? Is it not borne out by facts? So I've struggled with that. So anyway, I'm not a registered Democrat. I'm not a registered anything. Alpha Buckeye said, Trump doing great work. Not a question, but an observation. Dr. Always First, what is the A, most surprising thing that Trump MAGA has done, and B, least surprising you correctly predicted, but others were skeptical? Well, most surprising, I think, is the prominence of DOGE. I I knew Elon Musk was going to be involved, and I knew they were talking about the Department of Government Efficiency, but the amount of stuff they have done, the amount of sway Elon Musk has. He's doing co-interviews with the President of the United States with Sean Hannity on Fox News. So that's the most surprising. What I've least surprising, probably the sort of approach to foreign policy. I think Trump kind of signaled he was going to do some of this stuff. I don't know if that's why people voted for him, but I don't think we should be surprised by the guy who ran on the America First initiative is putting, in his mind, America first. Mike Witt, Mike, again, thank you for your donation. Everyone's talking about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez as a possible candidate in 2028, but I really hope Schumer retires and she runs for New York Senate. She would kick ass in the Senate, in my opinion. Very interesting. Yeah. So Schumer is up in 2028, Mike. I think you're right. I think he probably is sticking around because he thinks he could be leader again. You know what I mean? Like it's a 53 seat margin. I don't think they get it back in 2026, maybe in 2028. So maybe he sticks around until 2028 to see, but I don't know. That would be an opening. I think AOC wants to be on the national stage as opposed to the Senate stage. So I think she probably runs for president at some point, but I'm not totally sure about that. Michael Glogowski, do you think that transgender soldiers will get removed from the military? Michael, I don't know. I don't know enough about it. One of the things I try to always do is like not pretend I know everything. I don't know enough about where it stands. I mean, look, Trump has rolled back a number of directives about transgender in society. Hegseth has spoken out about this. It's men and women. I don't know if that means they will be sort of removed from the military. We'll see. Vladimir, why does Russia oppose Ukraine joining NATO when it already has NATO members on its borders? Well, I think it doesn't want any more NATO members on its borders. Vladimir, that would be my guess. Although it's not like Vladimir Putin calls me and tells me why he does things. Matt Goodwin, will the 2026 midterms be about the effects of tariffs? I don't think so. Just because I don't think it'll be about any one thing. Matt, it could be sort of a like economy, like are things better? Are prices cheaper? Can you get eggs? Can you get bacon? Can you go to the grocery store for under $100 if you're buying for a family? It may be that, and maybe tariffs play a role in that, right? But I don't think a lot of people are going to go to the ballot box and be like, I'll show Trump on tariffs, because the truth of the matter is most people don't understand tariffs. They just don't. There's a reason that Kamala Harris didn't attack Donald Trump on tariffs, because nobody knows what a tariff is. She called it a national income tax, right? Because people understand tax. Let's see. El Hombre de Oro. I'm traveling to Nepal, watching your live stream from my hotel room. It's like midnight here. It's a nice place for a well-deserved vacation. It's also cold here. That is so cool. What an awesome, thank you for your dedication. It's cold here too in Northern Virginia, which is not Nepal, but thank you for your dedication. You rock. Maxime Fougere. Maxine and I talked yesterday on the Zoom. Hey, Kristen, happy birthday from yesterday. Do you think it is possible that Europe could use the billions of money frozen to help finance the Ukraine war? That might be a thing, Maxime, if the U.S. pulls its investment out, right? If a deal can't be made in terms of the U.S. supporting Ukraine militarily, which Trump wants half of their rare earth minerals. If a deal can't be made there and there's no settlement to end the war, I think Europe will be heavily leaned on, and we'll see. I don't know. Donis Garverick, what do you think America will look like in 6 months, politically, economically, in the eyes of the world? Good question. I wish I knew. I think that Trump is using the U.S.'s economic and military might to bully people. You can decide whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. You could say, well, he's just standing up for us, and that's what he always should have done. But I do think bullying has negative long-term consequences, because people who you bully are not your friends. Right? They're not going to come to your aid when you need them for something. So that, to me, is the thing I'm wondering most about, is sort of like, yes, he can get Canada to appoint a fentanyl czar so that they don't get tariffs. He can get Mexico to add 10,000 troops to the border so that they don't get tariffs. He can get into conversations with Greenland about having America be more involved rather than China in the country. But in the long run, he can cut Europe out of conversations with Russia about an end to the Russia-Ukraine war. But in the long run, I really wonder the longer term impact. Raghavendran Raman, is it cynical that New York won't dismiss Eric Adams so that they don't have to call for a primary or a by-election? Will it affect the Democrats' credibility? Well, I Raghavendran, look, the primary is in June. So it's like, I don't see the point in getting rid of Eric Adams at the end of February so that 3 months he's not the mayor. Like, let the voters decide. In June, they will have a choice. Do you want Eric Adams to remain as the Democratic nominee, or do you not? Do you want someone else, like Andrew Cuomo, for example? And they'll get to decide. So Kathy Hochul, the governor of the state, coming in and being like, we're going to remove the mayor of New York City because I don't like him and I'm worried about his connections to Trump. Voters should have the say here, particularly when we're talking about 3 months before a primary election. Yeah. JJ Giddy said, Chris has seen a lot in his 31 years. You're right. So is my hairline. Tom, hey, Chris, can you do a video update on Project 2025? Is the only thing they're not implementing the ban on porn? Well, I believe that a lot of states are doing a lot more age verification. I don't know if it's a ban on porn, but a lot of Republican states are doing more age verification, more hoops you have to jump through to look at their content, to look at porn content. So I don't know if they're doing it nationally. And yeah, I can do an update on Project 2025. The one thing I'll say about Project 2025 is like, look, it's like an 800-page document. So there's a lot in it. But a lot of what's in there is just like long-time conservative beliefs. Like, it's not, yes, some of the things in there, you're like, oh, but most of it is just like what conservatives have believed into one document. So like the fact that Trump is doing some of the things that are in Project 2025, to me, like, he's doing things that a Republican president, any Republican president would do, at least at some level, right? Does that make sense? But yes, it's a good idea, and I'll look into it. John C., 2026 midterm predictions. I think Democrats will win back the House, and I think they won't win back the Senate. And I'm not sure that means that Democrats have like found their mojo or found their messaging. I just think in a midterm election with a president who I think is going to be under 50% approval, which I think Trump will be, usually the party out of power gains House seats, and they need like 5 House seats to regain the majority, which is not a lot. So I think they probably wind up winning the House and not winning the Senate back. And then, I don't know how much that portends about 2028 because Democrats have no message right now other than not Trump, and they have no messengers, prominent messengers, and that's a problem. DB, thank you for your donation. DB says, am I the only one who loves watching Trump's actions hurt the people who voted for him? It's a dark sentiment, DB, although I know you've been on my chat for long enough. I know you have some dark thoughts. You go to dark places. There's no question that some of the people who voted for Trump are going to be hurt by some of the things he's doing. That said, people have voted against their interests for decades, centuries. People vote on vibes a lot of times. They don't vote on like actual policy implications because they don't conceptualize like, okay, well, down the line, this thing could hurt us. So I don't know that that's new. Mike Witt, Mike, you rock. One more donation by Mike Witt. The man is the best. Mike says, going to DC this coming fall, Chris, any advice on places to see and almost as important, favorite places to eat? I like a good pizza place. You know what, Mike? I'm a 49-year-old man, Mike. I live in the suburbs of Northern Virginia, not the city of Washington, though I lived in the city of Washington for a long time. I don't get into the city all that often. I do TV hits in the city, but like I go in, I do it, I leave. Email me, Mike, CILLIZZAC@gmail.com, and let me dig up a few places. Nothing really jumps to mind. And if it did, it'd be like recommendations from 15 years ago when I was young. But thank you, Mike, for your donation. El Hombre de Oro, I think Tom Massey might run for the open Senate seat in Kentucky. Do you think he can win the Republican primary against McConnell and Trump supported nominees? Probably not. I mean, look, here's who's going to win the Republican nominee for the seat Mitch McConnell is vacating. Whoever Donald Trump endorses. I mean, if he doesn't endorse, who knows? But whoever he endorses. So I think you have a rich guy whose name I can't remember at the moment. You have who's sort of running against the McConnell legacy. You have Daniel Cameron, who's the former state attorney general, African-American guy, a McConnell person who was the 2023 governor nominee who lost to Andy Beshear in the general election. And you have Andy Barr, who's a member of Congress, who's trying to be the Trump person as well. Whoever Trump endorses among those three probably wins. And no, Democrats are not going to win the state because, well, for a lot of reasons. But one of the big reasons is Andy Beshear is not running. Barry Riley, I don't know if Trump is doing a good or bad job, but he sure is busy. I don't recall any other president this busy. Do you? I think that the busyness is sort of the point. He wants to look active. I mean, I think he has a pretty high work metabolism anyway, but he wants to look active because that is a real contrast to Joe Biden, who is not particularly active. Remember, Trump is 78 years old, right? Like, he doesn't want to get tagged with he's too old and he's not doing much. I think he has done a huge amount, you could argue for good or bad, in his first month in office. But, I think his first 100 days in terms of what he's doing, let's see what he can do legislatively, right? He's done a lot of executive orders, a lot of stuff like that, a lot of pronouncements. Let's see if he can get something done legislatively, like get his budget with, immigration and national security and tax cuts and all that stuff, get that through. I don't think he can do it in 100 days. If he did, that would be something. Jeffrey Berry, do you and Coach K go to the same stylist to maintain that hair color? Dude, look at it. This is my actual hair color. I do not dye this. Why would I? What would the point be? It's not like I have this amazing head of hair. My younger son says I should shave it, and it's definitely starting to thin out right there. The back, I think, still pretty solid, but I don't know. But it is not dyed. Jeez, Jeffrey. John C., can you see this? You missed my question in the past few live streams. John, I can see it. Wiley Coyote, who replaces Mitch? Again, it will be between Andy Barr, the rich guy whose name I can't remember, and Daniel Cameron. I mean, maybe another James Comer, by the way, is not running. He is probably going to run for governor of the state in 2027, but it's going to be one of those three, I think. Let's see what else we got. Okay, I did those. Sorry, I'm back to the Jeffrey Berry, do you color your hair question. Brutal. The Gump take. Do you think Andy Beshear has a chance at McConnell's seat if he runs? He's not going to run, and probably not. Even popular Democratic governors struggle to win Senate seats. It's a federal race. You have to answer for the national party. It's just much harder. Steve Daines is a great example. Steve Daines was a really popular governor of Montana, really popular Democrat. He runs for the Senate. He gets crushed because it's just not the same dynamic, right? If you're running for governor, you can say, I don't care about my national party. I'm going to do me. I'm a Steve Daines Democrat. If you run for the Senate, well, then you got to answer for Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris. It's a lot harder. DB says, time to play DayZ and drink all day. Have a great weekend, everyone. Take care, DB, and thank you for the donation, my friend. Let's see. Is the 2 terms for being a president a convention or a statute? No, it's in the Constitution, 22nd Amendment. Riley, who is the leader of the Democratic Party? Good question. If you did a poll right now, my guess, Riley, is people would say Kamala Harris. But, that's just because that's the name they know the most. Keith Palmer, Trump is quoting Napoleon saying he does not need to listen to judges. Well, he is saying anyone who saves the country is not breaking a law. I know he posted that. And yes, that is concerning. But again, I just point to his first term. In his first term, courts ruled against him regularly. He complained, he appealed, but he followed the law. We'll see. Tabby D. Hi, Chris. Why are so many government employees getting fired? Well, because Donald Trump and Elon Musk are saying they want to get rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government and in the bureaucracy. And so that's how they're doing it. We'll see about the implications. I honestly don't know what it will look like. Keith Palmer says Gavin Newsom will be the new leader of the party, followed by Bernie Sanders and AOC. Bernie Sanders is 84 years old. He's going to be the new leader. I could see Gavin Newsom. I think he's definitely in the mix. He will run for president in 2028. No question. AOC, I think another sort of prominent, smart voice to put forward. Bernie Sanders, I know he's doing town halls and stuff, but he's in his 80s. Didn't Democrats get enough of older white guys running for offices? LaRobot, why do you think Joe Biden signed with a talent agency? Are we going to see him in movies, or is he going to be doing challenges on YouTube? Well, I think he wants to see what's out there in terms of creative opportunities, like write a book, develop show documentaries. That's what everybody does now. And so I think he's just following along on that trend. Let's see. George Ruff, have I missed it, or is there any signal on what legislation will be coming out of the House or Senate for Trump's agenda? Well, George, they're trying to do either two bills to pass. So in the Senate, they want to do two bills, which is they want to take national security and immigration and do that, and then do taxes and spending. In the House, they're trying to do everything at once. So the Senate passed their budget, this two bill strategy, at like 4:50 this morning. They do a round of all night voting called a votorama, so nerdy. And then they passed it. Next week, the House is trying to pass their one bill, and then we'll figure out how it works. Riley says, I know this is crazy, but Jon Stewart as the Democratic leader. Lisa Hubble says, agree with Jon Stewart. I will say I made a video about Jon Stewart and how people are interested in the possibility of him running for the Democratic nomination. Go check it out. It's on this channel. Christopher Simon, what do you think Trump's role in the Republican Party will be after his second term? I don't know. I think a lot of people are wondering about it, honestly. Like, what? Look, he's 78. He'll be 82 after, does he still, is he able to still be actively involved? Does he want to be? Is he going to pick a successor? Is that successor going to be his son? Is it going to be his political son, J.D. Vance, or his actual son, Donald Trump Jr.? I don't know. Jim Bart 8, smash that like button and subscribe. Yes, smash that like button and subscribe. Thank you, Jim Bart. Let's see. Johnny Hot Sauce just posted 4 Canadian flags. I see what you're doing there. Tom, why should Ukraine pay reparations, earth minerals? Surely Russia pays them. Britain, France weren't asked to pay after World War II. I mean, I just think Donald Trump is like, why are we giving all this money to Ukraine and not getting anything back? Remember, that's how he views the world. Everything is a transaction. Why are we doing X, even if it's, broadly for the democratic good? He doesn't believe in that stuff. It's like, if I'm doing this, I want something back for it. What am I getting back for it? Let's see. The Gump Take. Do interviews with others that will help and keep on the shorts and on other platforms. This is my how do I grow? I know. People are like, do an interview with the Midas Touch, which I know is like the #1 podcast now. Well, a couple things. Number one, the Midas Touch has like a zillion subscribers, and Chris Liza has 60,000 subscribers. So I'm not sure what I can get them. Number two, they're very liberal, and I'm not very liberal. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't really want to, I'm not going to change who I am or what I do to get more subscribers. Like, I know people do that. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not going to be that guy. So it's like, I got to figure out who it makes sense to collaborate with, who is also doing something similar to what I'm doing on YouTube. Okay. Jerry Calderon. Hey, Chris, did you read Newsweek's article on Mallory McMorrow, the Michigan state senator who spoke at the convention? Now here's someone who knows what to say and how to say it. Your thoughts? Well, she is mentioned as a potential Senate candidate, Jerry. And she's going to run for something. So if Haley Stevens, who's a member of Congress, runs for the Senate, then I bet Mallory McMorrow runs for that seat. I think that's her district. But maybe she runs for governor, or maybe she runs for Senate. I mean, Michigan has an open Senate seat and an open governor's race in 2026. So yeah, she's interesting. RJ Ware, what do you make of Trump's pre-endorsement of Byron Donalds? Do you agree with that he could be elected governor in 26 and then be JD's VP pick in 2028? Even though I disagree with him, he's impressive. Yes. Trump it's very interesting, right? So Byron Donalds is probably going to run for governor of Florida in 2026 when that seat is open. DeSantis is term limited. Matt Gaetz is down there and I think would like to run as well. So is Casey DeSantis, Ron DeSantis' wife, who would like to be governor. Well, Trump doesn't want Casey DeSantis to be governor because he's not a DeSantis person. I thought he might stay out because of Matt Gaetz, but he is big into Byron Donalds, and Byron Donalds is really talented communicator, African-American Republican, which they need more non-white faces. And sure, I could see him being elected governor and then being JD's running mate. Yeah, I think that's a possibility. La Robot, do you think Tom Cotton's interventionist views would hurt him in a 2028 Republican primary? I think we're going to find out, because I think Tom Cotton is going to run for president. Yeah. Monica Ricker, the Creighton Georgetown game is Sunday and I'm going go Jays. Come on, Monica. No. Okay, it's Sunday. I said it was yet tomorrow. It's Sunday, but it's going to be tough. Let's just hope Georgetown wins. We can all agree on that, right, Monica? Let's shake. Good. Dan W. Dan, thank you for your donation. Any updates in the JFK files? Did I miss it? No. Remember, what happened was Trump said he needed a timeline from the National Archives and when they were going to release the stuff they haven't released on JFK yet. So we think that timeline has been given to him, but the timeline was like a 3-week window that they had to provide a timeline. So basically they had to provide a timeline for a timeline to release. So we don't know where it's ended up, if that makes sense. We're still waiting, Dan. Let's see. Lisa Hubble, this may not go over well here, but how about Adam Kinzinger for possible presidential candidate? I mean, he'd have to run as a Democrat. He'd have 0.0 chance as a Republican. I don't know, maybe. I mean, I don't think he's become a registered Democrat, but maybe. He certainly has star power. I don't think that Democrats would do well in 2028 to make it all about Donald Trump again. I think they have focused too much on Trump and not enough on an affirmative agenda of their own. In 2016, Hillary Clinton ran and said, basically, well, you're not going to vote for this guy, are you? In 2024, Kamala Harris ran and said, basically, well, you're not going to vote for this guy, are you? Well, both times they did vote for that guy. And I think at least part of that is because it wasn't clear what the Democratic alternative would be, or to the extent the Democratic alternative policies were clear, people didn't like them. So I think you got to find an agenda that people like that can be proactive, not just Trump bad, right? Let's see. Garrett Brindell. Timeline for when Trump decides to actually ignore the Supreme Court. Again, I've talked about this earlier. I don't think that's going to happen. If it does, obviously we're in a very different place. And I'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Let's see. Oh gosh, Christopher Swan. Christopher, thank you so much for your donation. So kind and very generous. If SCOTUS rules for Trump on presidential power and unitary executive, what's the impact now and long term? Also, what 1 to 2 issues, if Dems message right, could secure a House Senate majority despite the tough Senate map? Well, yes, obviously, if they rule in Trump's favor on his expansion of presidential/executive power, yes, it will have a huge impact because, look, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat who wins in 2028, they are not going to be like, oh, well, I now have all this power in the executive branch, but let me give a bunch of it back. No one does that. No one in life and no one in politics does that. So, Christopher, it would have a huge impact. Now, what 1 to 2 issues, if Dems message right, could secure a House Senate majority? Senate's tough just because of where the battlegrounds are. 20 Republicans up for re-election. None of them are, one of them, Susan Collins in Maine, is in a state that Kamala Harris won in 2024. So 19 of them are in states that Trump won. So it's tough ground. The House, look, I've said 2 things I think the Democrats should talk about all the time. And they should talk less about Trump. So they should talk about these 2 things. 1, abortion. Just keep talking about abortion. Women are going to be a majority of the electorate in 2026. They have been in basically every election since like 1992. On abortion, women favor the Democratic approach to the Republican approach. Just keep talking about it. Say, look, we believe that in women's right to choose and women's authority over their own bodies. Republicans don't. Talk about it all the time. I don't know why they don't. It's a clear winning issue for them. 2, talk about grocery prices. Donald Trump ran and said, prices are too high. I'm going to bring them down. Well, let's see if you brought them down. Egg prices are up. Now, again, I know a lot of that's due to the bird flu, et cetera, et cetera. And the truth is, the president's ability to make grocery prices go down is somewhat limited. But Donald Trump blamed Joe Biden for grocery prices. So why shouldn't Democrats blame Donald Trump for them? They absolutely should. So those are the 2 I would run on. Isaac Westerling Sauer. Isaac, thank you for your donation. And I haven't seen you donate before. Thank you so much. Hey, Chris, even though the threat to democracy strategy didn't work, it seems like it has changed to constitutional crisis. Is it working now? What rhetoric strategy should the left be working now? I do not buy, Isaac, that the average person thinks we're in a constitutional crisis. Do liberal Democrats? Yes. Do they hate Trump anyway? Yes. Are they never going to vote for a Republican? Yes. I don't buy that. Again, talk about grocery prices and talk about abortion. Those to me are political winners. Don't talk about government, the bureaucracy. Don't be the defender of the government bureaucracy. I just don't know that works as a message. Don't just be reflexively anti-Trump. We know that doesn't work. If that worked, Hillary Clinton would have won, and so would have Kamala Harris, and they didn't. Let's see. Raman, it's wild how Trump might single-handedly save the Liberal Party of Canada. The best thing that ever happened to Justin Trudeau is Donald Trump calling him Governor Trudeau and saying Canada should be the 51st state. I still think Trudeau is going to be out, right, as Liberal Party leader, and I think the Conservatives are going to take over. But yes, you're exactly right. By the way, folks, we have almost and at times over 300 people on this, but we only have 110 likes. Just like it. It helps the algorithm. It helps me. If you have not subscribed to my channel, just hit that subscribe button. This is the way that I grow and build. So I need you. 4 a.m. pizza. Hey, Chris, would Richard Nixon be a Democrat today? Good question. Richard Nixon's version of the Republican Party looks nothing like the current Republican Party. I mean, Richard Nixon and Donald Trump don't have a ton in common. Richard Nixon might be a moderate to conservative Democrat these days. Yes. Lewis Lloyd. Lewis, thank you so much and for your donation. Lewis says, hey, Chris, great job as usual. Where do you think Trump's first foreign visit will be? I've got a feeling it's going to be Greenland. What if it's somewhere in the sort of Northern Europe to sign or oversee a peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine? I think that might be it. I think that's what he would like it to be. Let's see. Mr. Jewel. Sorry, I'm trying to get to people who haven't asked questions. Chris, do you think the strategy for Democrats is nonstop campaigning over the next few years to the midterms in 2028? It feels like it's what Trump did and got more people to accept him and his ideas. Well, I think Democrats need to say, what are we for? And does that reach voters outside of our base? And then talk about that as much as possible. I think you do have to have an affirmative agenda, an idea, a North Star that is not just Donald Trump equals bad. Does that make sense? So I think you got to get that first and then you can campaign on it. But you got to have that. That's got to be because you can criticize Trump, I think many people rightly so. But if you ask, what does Donald Trump stand for? Tougher immigration, get rid of all the bureaucrats in Washington, be tougher in foreign policy. Again, are those really policy specifics? No, but they're things that people identify with him. When you think of Democrats, what do you identify them with? I don't know. Paul Olson. Paul, thank you again for another donation. Paul says, has Herschel Walker set up shop in the Bahamas yet? That's right. He's the ambassador to the Bahamas. What's better, Herschel Walker as ambassador to the Bahamas or Kimberly Guilfoyle, the former paramour of Donald Trump Jr. being sent to Greece to be the ambassador to Greece so that she's out of the way so Don can move on. Yeah. Wild. Mike Witt. Mike, thanks for your donation. Warnock Whitmer ticket in 28 sounds nice to me. I agree. I think that'd be a fascinating ticket. Raphael Warnock is my dark horse. I think he's a really talented senator from Georgia. Really talented. Whitmer would be a good person to round that out. Totally agree. I think that could work. Pocket Watch says, just keep doing what you're doing and let your subscribers grow based on that. I absolutely am. My thing is, Pocket, is how can I get some exponential growth? We're growing steadily, but I want to grow a little bit more. We're going kind of like this. I don't need it to go straight up, but it's can we get it to how do we do that? So that's what I'm working on. That is what I'm working on. I mean, we'll see. H says Obama is not the leader of the Democratic Party. How much have you seen him? Me neither. Doug Vanier, who do you think Trump will finger as his successor? I'm guessing Don Jr. Right now, if I had to guess, I would say Don Jr. or JD Vance, but we'll see. We'll see. Mike Witt, Chris Cillizza for president in 2028. Yeah, Mike, a lot of people are talking about that. Patrick Murray says, don't shave your head. You've got a few years left. I don't know about that. We'll see. Jim Bart 8, what is your take on Trump giving time in the Oval, the brokering a deal between Live Golf and the PGA? Does this seem like something any other president would do? No, of course not. Of course not, Jim. But it's Trump. The rules of political gravity do not apply to the guy. No other president would do that. And if they did, Republicans would go insane if it was a Democrat. But the rules just don't apply to him. They just don't. I don't know what else to say. Sly Fox, for the guy that finds pleasure in people being hurt by political leanings, remember a Democrat president not too long ago signed NAFTA with Democratic and Republican support, and that has cost us tons of union jobs. Fair. Thanks, Sly Fox. Yog Ball, are Americans less safe now because of Kash Patel? I don't know, man. I know people think Kash Patel, but Kash Patel does not have the resume that past FBI directors have had. Okay. That said, Donald Trump was elected on a promise of doing things very, 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 very differently. And so he's not going to pick the same old people. It's like Pete Hegseth at the Defense Department. He's not going to pick the same people. Tulsi Gabbard. Like, yes, these people do not have the resumes that the people who have held their jobs in past Republican and Democratic administrations have had. But why are we surprised by that? Right? NITM Versa. Are any Democrats appearing to make moves now to either lead now or prep for 2028? So the biggest one that I would keep an eye on is J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois. He delivered his State of the State speech earlier this week, worth looking at. He's very rich. He's an heir to the Hyatt family money, so he can spend a bunch of money. I don't think he ultimately gets there as the Democratic nominee, but I think he is the most active in trying to be an anti-Trump foil, sort of raise his profile. Him and Newsom are the two. Newsom was doing it, and then there were the LA wildfires, and he's had to sort of back off and focus on that. So he's taken a much lower national profile of late. Pritzker's kind of moved into that space. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just trying to get people who have not asked questions. Chris. This is Michael. Chris, with calling balls and strikes, how do you recognize your biases on your personal views so you can give us a clear picture on all these topics? Thank you. It's challenging. I try to look. I grew up in Connecticut. I'm a middle-aged white male. I went to private prep school, high school. I went to Georgetown University. I'm a journalist. I understand that's not the average path the average American takes. I get it. So I try to be mindful of that, but I do my best. Dr. Banana says, YouTube shorts may be popular, but they're a horrible format. Please avoid them. I will not avoid them because they really can help a channel grow. Michael Gates. Hey, Chris, if you were to write a book about a prominent politician of your time, who would you write about? That's a great question. I think McConnell is very, very, very interesting. I think Harry Reid, the late Democratic senator from Nevada, is really interesting. Rahm Emanuel, I don't know if any of those books would sell, to be honest. I'm not sure somebody wants to read a biography of Rahm Emanuel. My most I never say favorite president because I don't really have I liked his policies, but my most interesting president is Nixon. I just think he's so complex and so weird and troubled and smart. And there's a lot there, but there's also a lot of people who've written about Richard Nixon. Let's see. Sorry, just going down, making sure I'm not missing anyone. Jason C. Chris, would you rather drive Bigfoot or Gravedigger? Gravedigger. That monster truck is awesome. I love monster trucks. Alyssa says, loving the live today. Thank you, Alyssa. That's so kind. Tane Hatchreimer. Does Greenland allow convicted felons from other countries to enter? I see what you did there. Kendall, grade Trump's second term so far. I mean, it's been a month. Grading is hard. It's do you want me to do is he doing what he said he would do? On that, he's getting an A. Is that good for the country or the world? That's a whole different question, but he is doing what he said he would do. I don't think there's any question about that. Luke Fong says, I can't join from outside the US. You should be able to, Luke. We got people from all over. I'm sorry if you can't though. Let's see. In a different dimension, the issue is that Democrats are also tainted by corporate donations. Fair point. Ali and company. Can we do anything about Trump supporting our enemies over our allies? Well, probably not. I mean, he's going to do what he's going to do. RBH 2021. RBH, thank you for your donation. Thoughts on Andy Beshear of Kentucky in 2028? So now that is a relevant Andy Beshear question. Andy Beshear ain't running for the Senate because he would lose. And then he wouldn't have a chance in 2028. He's intriguing. He's pretty moderate, which you have to be elected statewide as a Democrat in Kentucky, but he's young, pretty charismatic. He's probably going to spend a little bit of time trying to move a little bit to the left because he's not going to stand for, he's term limited out in 2027, no matter what. So I think he's intriguing. He's probably more of a VP pick than ultimately a Democratic nominee, but I think he is going to run for it. Ricky Tanizzo, as a European observer of American politics, I appreciate your balanced coverage, avoiding sensationalism. Thank you. I'm trying, Ricky. I'm doing my level best. It's not perfect. I make mistakes. It's not for everyone. It's easier to grow if I'm just super pro-Trump or super anti-Trump, but that's not me. So I got to be me. The Gump take. What do you think is Rubio's role or future? Oh, I think he wants to run for president in 2028. I mean, I don't know if he will, but I think he wants to. Master failure: to shave your head, first grow a beard. Speaking from experience. Interesting. I did have a beard in 2016. Let's see. In a different dimension, why can't we have a normal person running and supported by green roots? Well, normal is not what our what our politics typically produces these days, my friend. Let's see. Larry Ong, any chance of Richie Torres primary and Kathy Hochul and Mike Lawler jumping in? Yeah, I think both of those things are going to happen. So I think Richie Torres, who's a member of Congress, is going to primary Hochul in New York in 2026. She's not particularly popular. He could win. And I do think that Mike Lawler, who's a Republican from Long Island, is going to run. I don't know if he'll win. New York is hard for any Republican. I mean, being from Long Island is probably good positioning, but like it's really, really, really hard. Ali and Company, glad you're having no trouble growing your channel. I can't seem to get over 500 subscribers. You know what so in growing, what I think the key is cadence and regularity. You got to be making lots of content very consistently. I think that's the only path. Eric James. Eric, thank you so much. Stephen A. Smith would win if he ran on the U.S. government buying the Dallas Cowboys and firing Jerry Jones. Amazing. We can spend a couple billion on that. I don't see what the problem is. Also, do not rule out Mark Cuban, Stephen A. Smith, and The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, as potential Democratic candidates in 2028. I truly think that is a possibility. Yo Bell says, love the show. Thank you. So kind. Let's see. Alpha Buckeye, is Jasmine Crockett the rising star and new face of the Democratic Party? I don't think I think she is a new face for the liberal end of the party, but I do not think, you know what, Sly Fox, thank you. Mike Lawler, he represents Westchester County. I'm sorry. Yes, I always confuse this. Not Long Island. Yes, Westchester County. Sorry, my fault, but thank you. I don't think the party Democrats would do well to have Jasmine Crockett as the face. She's just too liberal. I mean, she's just too liberal for Democrats nationally. I don't see it. But she is gaining in prominence. Big JK444. What about running more independent Senate candidates like Angus King or Dan Osborne as a strategy to win plains or rural states? I think that's smart. So I did a video last week about how Democrats could potentially win the Senate in 2026 with the note that it's going to be really hard. And one of the 4 things I laid out was they have to be competitive in at least 1 and maybe 2 of these plain states, Kansas, Nebraska, and Iowa. And I think the best way to do that is run as a independent and hope and work to keep there not being a Democratic nominee. Because if you have to answer for the Democratic National Party in a place like Iowa, Kansas, or Nebraska, you're going to lose. I mean, Sly Fox, I probably confuse Lawler with Esposito or Lalata. I do. In my head, I think Mike Lawler represents Long Island, and I always get it wrong. Gator MF. Gator, thank you for your donation. Gator says, war in Ukraine only ends with major concessions to Russia. Sad but true. Only other option is to continue the war. Time to accept it and move on. That's certainly Donald Trump's view. You know, it's like, too many people have died. Let's just make a deal. Even if it's pro-Russia, like, let's just make a deal. I think that's what he's gonna do. Nicholas Buchicha. Republicans aren't as hard a sell here in New York as people think. Lee Zeldin came pretty close in the last election. That was before Hochul got much exposure as governor. Sure. I think you can get to 45, 46, 47%. Just don't know if you can get to 50%. I think it's really, really hard. Let's see. Tag an SV. Constitution aside, do you really believe Trump will willingly give up power in 2028? Well, Constitution aside, I mean, that's good. It's a governing document. I don't think you'd put it aside. I think Donald Trump would love to stay as president. I think amending the Constitution is virtually impossible. Could he try to ignore it and this fight goes to the Supreme Court and then we'll see? Yes. All right, let me end on that because I need to do a Zoom with a subscriber to my Substack. If you want to become a subscriber to my Substack, you get a 15-minute one-on-one Zoom with me included as part of the $6 a month or $60 for the year. There's a link all the way at the top of this. If you want to donate to me, and you didn't do it in this chat, but you want to, and I'm always appreciative of it, I guarantee you it goes to the journalism, the independent, transparent, calling balls and strikes, no matter what uniform the batter at the plate is wearing, kind of journalism I'm doing, you can go to Buy Me a Coffee, as there's a link up there at the top too. Everybody take care. Please like this if you haven't. Please subscribe if you haven't. I do this every Friday. I make videos every single day, sometimes more than one a day. So please, guys, please help me out. I need your help. Spread this word. Let's get us to 60,000, and then let's just keep flying and going upward. Thank you all. If you donated, thank you even more. It really does go to help me do this job. So thank you if you donated here, if you subscribe at Substack, or you want to buy me a coffee. All right, everybody, take care. Have a good weekend.